tearing along, hands at 2 and 10, doing it all by feel at this point. Doesn't matter, does it? I'm zoning, dry-eyed out the window instead. The harbour bridge is a smear to our bendy bus, and so are its pedestrians. It's rush hour on foot. There are so many bodies beneath me, and in front of me, and on top of my roof. It's all really come on at once, hasn't it? We're all gonna die pretty soon. A couple of minutes, really. Christ. You're listening to episode 10 of Pulp, Surreal Stories From a Nearby Skull, an audio zine presented by the Sleepy Bones Detective Agency. The following broadcast is intended for mature audiences only. Stay straight, but don't look at them. You don't swerve for anything smaller than a hound, and some of them are on all fours. Are they paying attention to me, to us? Space for 77 passengers, but only carrying 6 in total, and we're not hiding it. One of them is one of them, and another is already dead. It's not like they're banging on the windows, is it? Growing up, my dad would always say to me, "Mate, in this world you can do anything you want to do, but at some point, somebody is going to come up to you and ask you, why?" If he started a sentence with mate, you knew he was going to be a real asshole about it. "Why are you doing that?" he'd ask. The line cook is asking me that very question right now. The stowaway has been yelling at me non-stop since we left the opera house. Something hurt, but I haven't really taken a look at it yet. Probably for the best, really. The psychic has been in my ear non-stop, begging me to stop and let some of them get on with us. Under the circumstances, I am furious, but I get it. I get it. We know now, see, that they're still in there, fighting, watching, feeling, only dead on the outside, so it seems. It feels only fitting that after 14 years of cutting them down, we should spend our last moments trying to help them. Yeah, I can understand that, but I do not come off as though I can understand that. Instead, I am yelling back at her with my chalky voice, and I am telling her, I think, to piss off. I would rather crash headfirst into the toll booths than just let it get us. I'm still yelling, I think, as we scorch past the security checkpoint, which we left in ruin prior to getting into the city. The big wall is a few miles behind us now, if it's still there. I double check, and it isn't. A quick head count reveals that, additionally, we've lost Old Tom and the mugger. I should reassure the survivors, maybe. Bump. I should tell them that the worst will be behind us soon enough. Rumble, grind, bump. I think a tire popped just then. If I said something nice, I could put them at ease. I've had enough practice by now, plenty of exercise of utility. It has always felt like a pointless endeavor, cheering them up. So why stop now that it is one? I've spaffed out all the classics. Don't worry, I've said. They won't get us here, okay? We're safe now, doll. I've got your back. Have you got mine? Blah, blah, blah. I say nothing, obviously, because the worst is already behind us. And it's not very far behind us. It is catching up. Oh God, it's gaining on us. And it will, no word of a lie, swallow us whole in a minute or two, because this heaving beauty of mine is capped at 66 miles an hour. God, it was such a good idea at the time. Took a week to get enough gasoline. Took another to reinforce the bonnet. Plowing through the wall though? That feeling was worth it. If he'd been around, my dad would have been stoked. But no, he had the idea in mind. He had a few ideas, actually. Like that fucking question, which he never bothered to answer for himself. He asked it plenty. You can tell I'm very bitter about it. But when he realized that we no longer needed him, that he was dead weight slugging along behind us, that he was walking slurry beneath the 16-ton bendy bus of total redundancy, my dear old dad walked himself into the South Pacific from DY Beach. Didn't forget to leave those famous last words, though, one last time, in a letter of all places. Alright, I can almost see the toll booths now. If there wasn't so much slurry, I could touch them with my high beams. The psychic won't shut up long enough for me to say anything, let alone something nice. There's no point in arguing. Maybe I should try something different. Isn't your life supposed to flash before your eyes when you're about to die? There's been plenty of bloody time. How about bump, squeak? Hey, remember when we were living in Ku-ring-gai? 6 years that lasted. The The basin was a nice campground before the fall, and it was just as safe afterwards. Well armed, of course, because we didn't know any better at the time. Our tent pole barracks stacked full with chefs, doctors, and, well, lawyers. Too close to Palm Beach, really. Whatever. We had it good. A support group. A community of people who we chose to leave helpless in our wake when we took their guns and we took their boat. Okay. Maybe something else. Boom. Clunk. Hey, remember that one night in Warwood? You could still smell the macas in the air. Never thought I'd miss that smell, you know. We broke into the picture house, nicked their vintage photographs. I've still got one in my pocket, I think. Early 2010s, he's standing with him from the Sherlock movies. It was great. Until one of the hungry ones blew itself up and we lost the shrew. Hadn't seen that before. I haven't slept much since. Bump. Hey, how about that zombie fight club, eh? Sure, I know they told us not to use that word. It's offensive, probably. That was the exact phrasing, though. I have the ticket stub, and it's got the Prime Minister's bloody signature on it. I'll be honest, I enjoyed that fight. And I'd probably enjoy the memory, too, if it hadn't directly led to this exact moment. Hey, don't you forget where we are right now, driving at 65.5 miles per hour, hydroplaning over giblets. Not even glancing at the wing mirrors anymore, are you? You're not looking, because, well, what would be the point? Rumble, rumble, rumble. What else would you see? Besides, of course, the dome of impervious light following the bendy bus at 55 miles per hour, at 56 miles per hour, at 57 miles per hour, etc., and so forth. You're not looking, because just looking was enough to seemingly irreversibly blind your right eye. Keep that to yourself, mate. Boy, it's starting to get hot, eh? I can't imagine how that's gonna feel. Christ. I have spent so long thinking that I will be eaten alive, screaming and feeling every last rotten tooth or barbed nail. Now I'm gonna be disintegrated. Vaporized. I mean, at the very least, it'll be quick. What's that, 62 miles per hour? It's alright, I'm still hedging my bets. I'm pretty sure that if we can get off the coat hanger quick sticks, we can probably hard left ourselves out of its radius before it's too late. I can almost hear the sound of blacktop beneath the wheels of my heaving beauty. It'll be bump, puff, puff, and then we'll be off the bridge. I can almost hear that. I can almost feel all 16 tons of momentum coming to a sheer, graphic halt as I harshly misjudged the breathing room between booths, sending the stowaway and most of the line cook through the reinforced windshield as though we'd made it out of papier-mâché. I don't feel a thing because the driver's cab is well insulated and I am wearing the only seatbelt aboard. Jesus, the psychic is still talking. Can anybody else, say something nice for a change? Fuck! Who's left? Just us? Must be. Everybody else is being quiet for once. That's all it took, huh? At least the stowaway got an easy out. Listen, they're still not banging on the windows. They've got no interest in us. Do you see now? Christ, who? Me or her? Listen, they're scuttling around us while they can, like how mice cross skirting boards. Wish they'd just eat me, actually. I'd rather go out like that than instead feel like I've gone down shooting. I'm prepared for that, you know. I've thought about it all night, every night for a very, very long time. And I'm not prepared at all for my last breathing thought to be, they're more scared of you than you are of them. That's the caboose burning, that smell. Certainly not prepared for my last craving to be a burger, fried egg on top, like in the basin, where the unscrubbed barbecue pits made everything taste like seared beef, even though we had none. Not prepared for the look I'm getting from the line cook as I unbuckle my seatbelt. Not prepared for the psychic's sudden, subtle silence. And obviously, it all brings back my father's immortal question of why are you doing that, mate? As I stand myself up on crooked feet, as I watch the accordion plastic between the two compartments shrivel and melt in anticipation. It is hot, actually, and it's coming very quickly. The expulsion of a UN-backed experimental warhead. In the grand scheme of things, 14 years had been long enough for us to sort out our own shit, right? As it eviscerates the back end of my heaving beauty, I think of how my dear, dead dad and his paltry little letter. And I think of his question and how before he took steps into his doom, he probably told himself the same thing. Mate, when somebody asks that question for real, you're gonna need a fucking good answer. You have been listening to L90, an episode of Pulp, Surreal Stories from a Nearby Skull, written and directed by Jake Lucy. This production is copyright 2020 by the Sleepy Bones Detective Agency and is intended for enjoyment purposes only. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, is purely coincidental. If you would like to support the show, please visit our Patreon at patreon.com/sbda. Please visit us on the web at sleepybones.agency for more surreal stories.